Ladies and gentlemen, this is the European History Lecture for Monday, the 25th of October, 2021, and we are talking about the radical Reformed Christians, particularly those who were Melchiorites, the millenarian Anabaptists of Munster, who followed John Leyden to destruction. And after the destruction of the millenarian Melchiorites, Menno Simons reestablished radical Protestant or radically Reformed Christianity in a much more pacifistic light. And his followers, known as Mennonites, and their related Amish brethren, persist or exist to this day as Christians who are not of the Roman Catholic or traditional Protestant like Lutheran or Reformed Christian like Calvinist mold. Instead, they see, like Zwingli, the Sacrament of Holy Communion not as a sacrament so much involving something like transubstantiation, assuming that is your pill, but rather they see it as a symbolic reenactment, or candy, whatever it might be. Okay. Again, that shows you how old I am. I used to eat candy. Now, like every other old person, I take a bunch of pills every day. Yay! Better living through medication. Because otherwise my diabetes will kill me. That's why.
Oh, diabetes is great.
It is. It's fun. I don't have it like you, but I do have a version of it.
Yeah. Either way, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want any other way.
Well, actually, it has made you stronger.
Has it though?
I think so. I'm not saying that I would have said, yeah, give her diabetes if I were in the great birth lottery, but you could have reacted differently, and I see you as a sometimes too strong young woman. What?
Okay, so one of the youth groups I go to, not real life, a different one, but they we get candy at the end of it, and every kid who comes up there is like, oh, I'm gonna get diabetes every single time.
Come on. It took me a lifetime. It took me 40, almost 50 years of eating precisely what I wanted, including my wife's incredibly good cooking, and not exercising to get me to diabetes. So, no, just having a few candies won't do that.
What if you eat a whole bag of candy?
Every day, then you will. And I would expect it. But you'll have other problems first.
You know, like those Mexican fireballs? Oh my god,
those are never liked those. Okay. So I said I never liked those. It's just my own personal thing. I like jelly candies.
They are jelly candies. What do you mean?
No, those are not jelly candies. Those are fireballs.
No, not the fireballs. Okay. They have tahini.
See how focused this lecture has been so far, you at home? I'm glad that you're watching so closely. And to those of you at home who think that I'm an evil conservative propagandist, just take a look at the last 5 minutes and see how effective I am at that.
That's what I meant.
Hey! Propagandist, somebody who sells ideas and warps minds. We now do the Reformation in England. We've already talked about this in regards to St. Thomas More, but I'm going to hit it again. King Henry VIII married Catherine of Aragon, a Princess Royale of Spain, and they didn't have a boy. They didn't have a boy child. And Henry wanted a boy child. Why? Like for the reason every royal family wants a boy child. They want an heir and a spare. They want to secure the monarchy, and the monarchy is secured by having a crown prince, and another prince in case the crown prince bites it.
Who he married?
Wait to be called out. So, Henry VIII decided that what he really needed was to be married to his mistress and to divorce his wife. So he went to the Pope, and the Pope refused him for a variety of reasons, not the least of which was that on the surface of it, It was a bogus request. And also, he had a choice, the Pope did, between offending a medium-level monarch on the fringes of Northwest Europe, or offending the House of Habsburg, the most powerful royal family in Europe. And he did not choose to offend the House of Habsburg. So Henry was denied a divorce, at which point Henry decided that he needed to become the head of the church in England and to overthrow Catholicism in England. So Henry VIII, in fact, does divorce his wife and separates the church in England. Now, what this is a gift I received a few years ago. It's a coffee mug. And what it is Henry VIII and his wives, the 7 wives of Henry VIII. And what it does is when you heat it up, every one of these faces is in living color, just like Henry VIII is. But as the coffee cools or drains, the wives' faces become black and white, like you see here. And I think it does so in the order of their deaths or of their banishments or of their divorces. So this is funny to me. Again, a student got it. I usually don't accept gifts, but I kept this for my classroom. I don't drink coffee much.
Why don't you accept gifts?
Because I get paid a happy wage and I don't need gifts. Believe it or not, the gift you give me is your presence and your involvement in my class. That is absolutely true. That's why I do that. I even like you, yes. Although you need some work. So, in any event, so do you all, so do I. These are the 7 wives of Henry VIII. So Henry starts out by divorcing Catherine of Aragon, and it's like eating a candy that you like, or a potato chip. It's very difficult to just have one. So once Henry had his first divorce, he would have others. Some he divorced, and some he had executed. Now, what was the crime of these women, aside from the fact that they weren't new and interesting like his mistresses were? I mean, men do tend to have roving eyes, and what that means is there is this sense among certain men that what they have is never as good as what they want. As what they are going for is always more interesting than what they already possess. So some men are notoriously unfaithful.
It's like me.
Henry could have been unfaithful. Kings are. I mean, marriages are arranged for marriages of state. As long as the queen keeps herself chaste and makes sure or at least makes sure she doesn't have a baby by another guy, everything will work out. But Henry didn't just want an affair, he wanted a son. And at that time, it was just as reasonable to blame the wife for not having a son. After all, she didn't turn her womb from infertile to fertile. Nor did she switch on the lever from girl to boy. So he did have a couple of daughters, Mary and then Elizabeth, and he finally had a son after several wives. So all of this is a problem for people like Thomas More, who say that this is not Christian. And to claim control over the church in your country just so you can despoil the church of its lands and marry whoever you want, whenever you want, isn't exactly validly legitimate, bless you, either. There is a tissue box over there. You need it. As such, More and other English Catholics refuse to go along with it. So Henry pushes it with the Act of Supremacy, which he forces everyone who wants to keep their property and position in England to sign. More refuses to sign, but he also refuses to give a reason why. Why? Because of this. The Star Chamber. Now, when I was your age, they put out a movie called The Star Chamber. And since I love science fiction, I thought, oh, it's a science fiction movie. No, it's a movie about a group of judges that decide to set up a death squad in order to punish criminals that get away because of the letter of the law. And trust me, my mom was a police detective for 20 years in Connecticut. The letter of the law saved a lot of guilty child molesters and rapists and a couple of murderers from being punished because their lawyers were good enough to exploit every single weakness in the prosecution. And there were people that, there was no question in my mom's mind or in the minds of the other detectives, these people are guilty of sin, not only of the crimes that we found out about, but of several crimes we haven't. But our criminal justice system errs on the side of the accused, and rather than sending any guilty people to jail, our justice system would rather let guilty people go free. The presumption is that the accused is innocent until proven guilty, and our system, which is rooted in English common law, not the Napoleonic Code, is designed more than anything else to protect the rights of the accused. And so in some ways it is much better to be in the United States than, say, to be in most European countries that use Napoleonic Code law if you're accused of a crime, because the system is definitely tilted towards the rights of the accused rather than the needs of society. But the Star Chamber is extra-legal justice. The Star Chamber movie about these judges and how they were overthrown, that is a bad idea too, is based on an actual room in one of Henry's palaces that happened to have a blue ceiling with a bunch of golden stars on the roof. The Star Chamber was a place where unofficial court was held. And unofficial court is not about even following English common law. Unofficial court is about punishing the enemies of the king, especially the damn Catholics. The Catholics! So what happened was that the Star Chamber became the English version of the Spanish Inquisition. It became the Church of England's version of the Spanish Inquisition. And those people who were loyal to the Catholic Church, but in the eyes of the king or his advisors, by being loyal to Roman Catholicism, were disloyal. I'm a lord of the fifth. Were disloyal. By the way, if you haven't seen the movie Dune that's out right now, it is incredible. Dune is one of my favorite books ever, and it does an incredible job.
What is it about?
It's a book.
Is that the one with Zendaya?
Yeah.
And
It's
Timothy.
Yeah.
It's incredibly good. Dune has been attempted several times on screen, and it's never been really good. It's only the first half of this first book, but it's incredibly well done.
What's it about?
It's about the far future, politics, economics, drugs,
Yes.
and it is, with the exception of the Lord of the Rings and the Bible, Lord of the Rings, Dune, in terms of books that I love, that I think are just incredible. Yes?
Have you seen the was it 80?
I saw the 84 version in the theater when it came out. And I didn't like it, but there are things about it I do like. And there are things about the Sci-Fi Channel versions that I like as well. They did a miniseries about 15, 20 years ago.
So you like the new one better than that one?
Yes, I like what I saw on Saturday with my wife is, without exception, the only real capturing of that amazing book on screen. And it's an incredibly complicated book. It's very hard to do, but they did it. I only had one or two quibbles. In general terms, they did an amazing job. I think if you see it, you will love it. So, you were first.
Is it on Netflix?
It's on HBO.
HBO. Okay.
You can also see it on HBO, but I'm telling you, see it on the big screen. It's worth it. The experience, the surround sound, all of it. It's worth it. Haley.
Okay, so slightly random, but it's okay.
Well, this was a random interlude anyway.
So, I assume you know. Do you know what "Let's Go Brandon" means?
I talked about it. In fact, I said it on Friday.
You can
And
explain
Fiona, I said she wanted to know what it was, and I said, somebody explain it to her outside of class, because I can't in class. Yeah, there are several rap songs now,
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
Go
I
Brandon,
listened to
which
it
are
before.
hilarious. Anyway, what was that just your point?
Yeah, I just found out about it on Saturday. I was
Okay. Well, I mentioned it Friday, and you seem to know about it.
No, I was writing corrections.
I want you to
Okay.
explain it to me.
Fiona,
Okay.
she will explain it
Okay.
to you after class, and you will find it amusing. You may not like it, but you will find it amusing.
She will like it.
In any event, okay, so Henry VIII sets up the Star Chamber court, and with the Act of Supremacy, the Parliament goes along with everything Henry does. So now Henry is the head of the church in England. Now, aside from getting rid of the Pope, the Church of England actually today the traditional Episcopalian Church, which is what the Anglican Church is called in the United States today, is actually more Roman Catholic than today's Roman Catholic Church mainline. Today's mainline Roman Catholic Church, I'm not speaking about Latin Rite, I'm speaking about in general terms, is post-Vatican II, very different ladies, very liberal. The Church of England maintains a much more conservative worship service, much more akin to Latin Rite Mass. At least it has up until the last 10 years. I haven't really looked into it deeply since then. But there was a time I was considering joining the Episcopalian Church, so I looked into it pretty deeply. So, if you want to know the difference between the Church of England and the Roman Catholic Church, unlike Luther, the difference is who runs it. It's not the Pope, it's not the Vatican, it's the King of England. Other than that, it's basically theologically very similar. Oh, except you can have divorce. Of course, Henry VIII changed the divorce laws to suit him. Anyway, Henry, who is often depicted holding a turkey leg and eating it, goes from being a fit young man to an obese older man. Not that I know anything about that. And he dies, having split the church in England away and having persecuted the Roman Catholics. However, Henry's conservatism doesn't please his son, the guy he desperately wanted to be born, King Edward VI. King Edward VI wants to have what the book calls a more Protestant church, but what it really is a church that's more Puritan or more radical Reformed. He isn't a Mennonite, he isn't Amish, but a lot of Calvin's ideas appeal to Edward VI. So what Edward VI, as a young king, new to the office, tries to do is push the church in England even farther away from Roman Catholicism in terms of the Mass, in terms of theology, in terms of belief and practice. But the church resists, because even though the young king is the head of the Church of England, he ain't his papa. He is not Henry VIII, who had real power. And Edward VI is frustrated in his attempts and dies young. Probably of natural causes. Probably not assassinated. So now, the eldest of Henry's daughters becomes ruling queen. And she is Mary. Not to be confused with Mary, Queen of Scots, who's somebody else involved in this story. She is the Mary, Queen of England, and Protestant English history insists on calling her Bloody Mary, after which there is a cocktail drink.
Disgusting.
I never liked it.
It's spaghetti in a liquid.
No, it's not spaghetti in a liquid. And by the way, how would you know anyway, underage person who has no access to alcohol unless her family chooses to give her some at a holiday dinner?
No. Nobody in my family likes Bloody Marys because they're literally spaghetti in a liquid. But we make them LP.
They're great.
And since we don't have like an alcohol license, we just do sake.
Okay.
And literally, you just take tomato juice.
Sake?
Yeah.
I like sake served at the proper temperature in a Japanese restaurant. The idea, I don't like Bloody Marys. My grandmother loved them. I don't love them. I don't like them. If I am going to have alcohol, I will have it straight. That is the way I prefer it. And consequently.
Are you a candy?
Stop! I'm a Scotch person. Single malt. So, which is expensive, but it's good. Be good. So,
Me too.
why, because she's just trying to tease me. Why, ladies, gentlemen, why is she called Bloody Mary? Can any of you guess why Protestant English historians... Yes, sir.
Was it because she got her head off?
Ultimately she didn't die well. No. But that's not why.
Blood.
Yes.
Wasn't it because she had a lot of failed wars?
There was some of that, but both are good guesses. I actually don't remember how Bloody Mary died. I think she died of natural causes.
Well, she it was either Catholic or like Protestants. She just killed a bunch of them because
Mary, unlike Edward, and unlike Henry, wanted to return England to the Roman Catholic faith. Mary Queen of England, as opposed to Queen of Scots, was a Catholic and a principled and devout Catholic. So what she did is the reverse of what her father and brother did. Her father and brother used the Star Chamber Court to punish Catholics and also to punish people who would later be called Puritans. What Mary does is she uses the Star Chamber Tight Court to punish Protestants. And since English Protestants, members of the Church of England, end up being the norm for many hundreds of years down to the present day, Mary is called Bloody Mary because she persecuted Protestants in an attempt to restore the Roman Catholic Church to England. She failed. She also died fairly young. I don't remember how. I don't remember if she got the chop or if she died of natural causes. Does anyone recall? Yes.
So do you remember how Elizabeth died? Because it's kind of the opposite.
Elizabeth died of natural causes.
Okay.
She died an old woman.
Yeah. So then Mary, they did take her. I think she was going to escape, and she was.
Mary, Queen of Scots, was beheaded.
Yeah.
Mary, Queen of Scots, is not Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Mary, Queen of Scots, was friends with Elizabeth, but she wanted to bring a Roman army into Scotland to protect Scotland from English overlordship. Queen Elizabeth arrested her, and Mary, Queen of Scots, did have her head chopped off. I don't think that happened to Bloody Mary, but I could be wrong.
I might be mixing one.
Would somebody look it up, please?
Because I watched a huge documentary on with Anne Boleyn and how she had Elizabeth, and so the whole thing.
Yeah.
One of them, was Mary. I think at one point she was trying to escape. I might be thinking of Mary Queen of Scots. I'm pretty sure it was this one.
Mary Queen of Scots was trying to escape ultimately because Elizabeth had jailed her.
Then I'm thinking of Mary Queen of Scots, and then she ended up. But then with her sister Mary. Yeah, I'm not 100%.
I don't know.
I'm not 100%.
I will let Miss Neufeld Velasco look into it. Yes.
I think I confused her with Mary.
Would she be an M or
Another woman who got the chop. Yes. We're going to talk a lot about Marie Antoinette when we do the French
Does she
Revolution.
have a normal name?
Interesting.
Or is it just
Mary Tudor.
So it's not going to be an M.
Don't worry about it.
No,
I will look it up. And if any of you want extra credit for homework, if you don't want to do a quote analysis, you can do me a half page on Bloody Mary and how she dies, and I will accept it for extra credit.
Today?
No, anytime. You have one extra credit assignment per quarter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I need that.
Okay, so when Bloody Mary dies, Queen Elizabeth I becomes Queen of England, and she is going to restore her father's church and persecute the Catholics. And as far as English Protestants are concerned, everything's going to be happy and sweetness and light. And Queen Elizabeth is going to go on to be a truly glorious monarch. And we will talk about her in future times. Before we do that, though, we're going to talk about Calvinism. So I'm going to shut the heat off because it's already more than hot.
You said Tudor.
I'm sure you enjoy it. I, on the other hand, can't handle it being too hot.
I do.
Because I carry around my own blanket everywhere I go.
Wait, how do you spell it?
T-U-T-D.
What? Tudor. Mary Tudor. Look up also, quote, Bloody Mary, unquote.
Bloody Mary.
In here?
No, when you do your research.
Oh, I'm doing
Because no, what I want you to do now is pay attention to me because I'm going to talk about one of the most complicated ideas in Christianity or interpretations of Christianity, and that is Calvinism. You cannot do it half-heartedly. So Haley, do it later. Not now.
Found it.
Please. Okay. So, where am I? Calvinism.
H.
Item H. So, John Calvin is born French. It's not his fault. And he is known, I made an anti-French joke. It's nothing new. Calvin ends up writing a definitive book of the Reformation called The Institutes of the Christian Religion. And in the Institutes of the Christian Religion, John Calvin lays out the basis for what is called Reformed Christianity. Reformed Christianity is not the radical church that leads to the Amish and the Mennonites. It's not the Protestants that lead to Lutheranism and the Church of England. The Reformed Christianity is a different breakaway from Roman Catholicism entirely. Now, one of the most difficult doctrines to comprehend is the doctrine of predestination, which you can all see here behind this podium. Maybe now. Predestination. Predestination's a toughie because Christians believe in free will. If Christians didn't believe in free will, there would be no explanation for Eve and Adam's betrayal of God in the Garden of Eden, or the various things that the prophets and that Christ did. So how is it possible that one of the most important Christian leaders of the last 500 years, Calvin in some ways is more important than Luther, how is it that he can advocate a doctrine of predestination? I will explain. In our lives, in the moments of our lives, we are in the weave of space and time, like being in a tapestry. Now, if you don't know what a tapestry is, imagine a wall hung on a wall, a rug. A rug, wall hung on a wall! Imagine a rug hung up on a wall. A rug hung up on a wall for its beauty is a tapestry. It's not painted, it's woven. So we are in the weave of space and time like a great tapestry, and we're in a particular part of it. From our standpoint, we remember the past. The present is elusive, the future is anticipated. We anticipate. Now it's a memory. Now it's the past. That snapped of the fingers. Present is like quicksilver, like water flowing through your fingers. You can't hold onto the moment. You can barely experience it. But we are within the weave of space and time. From our point of view, our future is fluid. We might choose to go left or right. We might choose to get fries on that or not get fries on that. We might choose to kill that irritating person, or we might choose to argue with them, or we might choose to ignore them, or we might choose to betray them and connive with people to get them shunned or something. We are decision makers. And monotheists in general, not just monotheists, Persian dualists also, Hindus also, Confucians also. In fact, every major pre-industrial religion sees human beings as decision makers. We are the ones that choose, that make the choices, that make the determinations, that distinguish what we will do. Our choices will either save or damn the universe, according to Persian Zoroastrians. Our choices will either elevate our soul in the next life up towards Brahma, the Devas, the Brahmin bulls, the priests, and the virtuous kings. This is all in Hinduism. Or our choices will damn our souls to being born into a lower caste body, perhaps even an untouchable body, or a filthy animal body. Not a good animal like the cow, but a filthy animal. Our choices, Jews, Christians, and Muslims believe, ultimately will help or hinder God's work in the world, but they will also end our time in the universe in heaven or hell. Our choices always matter, because you can't control the outcome of events. For example, and I'm not trying to rub salt in the wounds, you soccer players, male and female, you kicked bottom. You did everything right. You lost in what? Double overtime penalty kicks? Come on. You did really well. Do not in any way be ashamed.
Don't be
You
ashamed.
can be frustrated. Stop. You can be frustrated, but don't be ashamed. You kicked bottom. And it's also been how many years that you've been part of a championship team? What? I know, it was so close. Or am I getting it wrong? Do I not understand?
No, you're good.
I can tell you, you did everything you could. Sometimes the cookie just crumbles the other way. You got nothing to be ashamed of.
The other way? What's the
Yeah, I'm trying to understand.
Okay, sometimes your plans work out. You got a cookie. It's moist and chewy. And you bite it, and you hold on to it, and you bite it again, and you hold on to it. Other times, you plan to have this lovely, delicious cookie, and the joy of biting it. But you bite it once, and because it's so dry, it crumbles into dust, and you can't eat the rest because it's on the ground, and you're going to eat cookie ground dust, and that's not good. So, do you understand now? Morons! Really? I don't understand the idiom, the analogy. That's how the cookie crumbles. Well, I just explained it!
The other way.
You should say biscuits. Cookies are not always dry.
Cookies can be dry. They cannot. In any case, if I were you, I would be frustrated, sure, but I'd also be damn proud. Absolutely proud of what you did. Okay. Remember, I'm such an evil influence on children. You think I'm a propaganda. Okay, we continue. So, we are not responsible for the outcomes of our choices. What we are responsible for is our choices themselves. What we choose to say, what we choose to do, what we attempt to do. That we are accountable. Ultimately, you can... This is one of the most painful lessons in the world to learn. Stop. I mean it, please. Sometimes you can do everything right and still fail. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes you can do everything right and still fail. Because sometimes life isn't about what you did. There are other factors that play a role, and you can do everything right and you can still fail. That's part of this reality we share. It's not fun, but it's a true thing. And I know that many of you young, driven students and student athletes have difficulty with that concept. Hell, I have difficulty with that concept. Part of me wants to say, damn it, in this and that situation, I did everything right, I deserved victory, and I didn't get it. Because it's not always just about me and what I do. There are other things that happen that affect how things turn out. We are not responsible for what happens. We are responsible for what we choose to do. And we're completely responsible for that. To blame somebody else for your choices is to basically abdicate responsibility for your life. Why would you do that? Sometimes you make the right choice. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, you will make the wrong choice. You will realize you made the wrong choice. Maybe the moment after, like in the movie Anchorman, you drop yourself into a bear compound in a zoo. So saith Ron Burgundy. I immediately regret this. Which you would if you suddenly realized you were face to face with grizzlies and there was no pit or fence protecting you. I immediately regret this. Sometimes you will regret it years later. You'll realize, oh my gosh, what I did was just not good. I'm so sorry. So this is all from our perspective. We live in the weave of time. We can make choices quickly here.
When we went to the Seattle Zoo, there was this, Rory was with us, and there was this bear. It was a grizzly, and it was in like you're protected by the glass.
Yeah.
The grizzly saw Rory and was like.
Bears don't like dogs.
At Rory.
Dogs can chase bears away unless the bear gets really angry.
Yes, but the orangutan
loved
her,
yeah,
and so did the otter.
Good.
And the otters always love me, and they always love Rory.
Yes, I'm good with animals also, and while I don't bring a dog everywhere I go, or most everywhere I go, one of the best, and I love zoos. I've gone to zoos a lot since I was a kid. We lived near the Bronx Zoo. One of the best young times when my wife and I were dating is we went to the Bronx Zoo, and she and I sat arm in arm watching a gray black gorilla and its wife and his wife sitting arm in arm. We understood one another. We had a moment. It was nice.
That's adorable.
In any event, God is outside of the weave of space and time. God is omniscient, all-knowing. God is omnipresent, everywhere. God is omnipotent, all-powerful. Now, one way of looking at this is if we are in the weave of a tapestry, a rug on the wall. Keep saying that. From our point of view, we have free will. Absolutely, totally. But before you're born, God knows how your life's going to turn out. Not because he's controlling it, not because he's shaping you like a robot. If God wanted robots, he would have made robots. God made free-willed human beings. We have choices. From our point of view. But from God's point of view, he made a number of people who will end in damnation. Why would he do that? From his point of view, the universe is one moment. No past, no future, present. It is all happening at once. Why? Because he's God. See, he perceives time differently than we do on a fundamental level. So God knows how everything we try to do is going to turn out. And what that means is, from his point of view, some of us are predestined for heaven, and others of us are predestined for hell. Now, I will call on you, but I need to wait until I have time. One concept that you need to understand here is called the elect. Write it down. The elect. The elect. And what the elect are is those people who are preordained for salvation. The elect. Those people, according to Calvin, who are preordained to salvation. In other words, long before their grandparents meet and start dating, God knows whether they will end in heaven or in hell. In heaven or in hell. They are preordained for salvation. That is the elect. And what we will do next time is we will come back to this concept of the elect, and we will explore it as we continue to study this difficult concept of predestination. Any questions, comments, or thoughts? Yeah.
I disagree with
About what, specifically?
our choices not being we're responsible for our choices and not for
Yeah.
what happens. Like if you eat 40 cookies and then your stomach.
Oh, you're responsible for that.
Yes, and then you're responsible for your stomach hurting too. Because
Yes, you are. Yes. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean, it's an outcome, but no, that I agree with you. What I'm saying is, okay, you join a team, an epic team, a team of many championships, and you try and try and try and fail. Is that your fault?
Yes.
Because you stink?
Yes.
No! Sit. It is. Have a seat, Jackson. We're not done. I'm still recording. It is the reality that you can try and try and try and do everything right, and still sometimes things don't turn out. I'm not talking about eating 40 cookies and getting a bellyache. I'm talking about taking chances in life and going after goals in life that are difficult to achieve. Becoming a prima ballerina, one of the most difficult jobs in the world to get. How many little girls go to dance class? Like my wife did when she was a little girl. She went to ballet class. Why? Because people of her social class sent their daughters to ballet class in those days. How many little ballerinas wanted to be a prima ballerina someday? And how few of them got there? Because it's so difficult to be a professional dancer, let alone a ballerina. You can do everything right as a dancer and just not have the right body type, or you could injure yourself in a minor way and just not be able to pull it off. Being a professional dancer, let alone, and I knew somebody who was, being a professional dancer, let alone a prima ballerina, there is nothing wrong with not becoming one. It's just so difficult. Or, I used to work with a guy, he was in Major League Baseball for about 2 months until he got an injury. And he had been planning his whole high school and college life to be a professional baseball player. He finally graduated from college, was accepted into a major league team, and was injured. And he was out. Take that into account. For what it's worth. Bye!
See you guys.